Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the topic of whether or not it is possible for us to successfully open a lock. If there's a key on the other side, as we discussed in the previous video, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Those who haven't seen it can check it out. I received a message under this video. I have a subscriber named Ivan Sinioki from Dnipro. He provides emergency lockout services, and he says that when the key is inserted into the lock, to take it out, or rather to open the lock, he files down the key by about 1 millimeter at most, inserts that key, and opens the lock. So, understanding the lock's design, I have some doubts about this. When the key is inserted into the lock, to take it out, or rather to open the lock, he files down the key by about 1 millimeter at most, inserts that key, and opens the lock. That is, understanding the design of the lock, I have some doubts about this. I need to clarify these doubts and explain the design further. It is important to check it thoroughly to ensure everything is correct. So, is it really like that? Because, as far as I understand, without additional staples, wires, and so on, filing the key, in theory, should not lead to a positive result. That is, it will be impossible to open the lock. This is my opinion. So for those who do not want to watch the previous video, I will explain in a few words. That is, when we insert a person, he comes home, closes the door, puts the key in not straight, for example, but a little diagonally. So, he carefully closed the door and left the key like that. So, you come home, gently insert the key, but unfortunately, you can't open it because there's another key behind it, and the lock won't open. So, I showed how I get out of this situation, how to solve this problem. So again, this video will be linked. The link to this video will be in the description below this video. You'll be able to see. And Ivan wrote, he says that he solves this problem by filing the key by 1/2 millimeter, a millimeter at most. That is, well, we'll check it now. We'll try. And perhaps Ivan is right. Maybe it's not like that. Because ideally there's a connecting powell that only engages the latch depending on which side the key is inserted. This connecting powell moves and stops at the latch. So there can't be two keys in the same latch at the same time because the connector itself won't allow that. This connecting powell moves and stops at the latch. So there can't be two keys in the same latch at the same time because the connector itself won't allow that. I'll show you this connector later, and why I think that way. If it somehow opens, of course. I'm going to carefully take it apart to thoroughly look at this lock, and we'll see its detailed components and how it works. We'll know for sure precisely if this lock will indeed open just by simply filing down the key. As Ivan says, you don't need to insert anything else. Just filing down the key solves the problem. You can check out the correspondence below the video, the link to which will be in the description. So let's check what will happen. That is, at the moment we see that we need to file down about 3 millimeters, because anything less definitely won't solve the problem. But we'll file it down step by step, 1 millimeter at a time. I have plenty of keys, and I have enough cylinders too. As Ivan claims, he has personally done this on locks, specifically on these kinds of locks, with this type of key profile. Let's take a closer look at the situation to ensure that I haven't overlooked any important details or missed something crucial in the process. At this point, I will temporarily pause the operation to prevent any unnecessary waste of time. However,
It's worth noting that my drill is currently operating at a high speed, which means it is cutting through the material quite rapidly. As a result, we won't be filing down just a single millimeter. Instead, the process involves turning the drill off and on again to achieve the desired outcome. This method ensures precision and efficiency, allowing us to manage the task effectively without any delays or interruptions. By carefully monitoring the progress and making adjustments as needed, we can maintain control over the situation and achieve the best possible results. It's important to stay attentive and responsive to any changes that may occur during the operation, ensuring that everything proceeds smoothly and according to plan. So we've just filed the key a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, As we can clearly observe, the key is now being carefully inserted. I think we need to file it a bit more, because there's still at least 1.5 millimeters left. So we've filed the key even more. We obviously insert the key, of course, carefully into the keyhole because of the filing. And what do we see? Just as I basically expected. I had no idea how I knew. So even though we've carefully filed down the key to fit perfectly into the lock mechanism, we still find ourselves unable to turn the cam itself. It simply refuses to budge, no matter how much force or finesse we apply. As a result, nothing happens when we attempt to turn it. No. The only viable option left to us at this point is to pause our efforts and reassess the situation. Alright, we've now taken apart the component of the lock to examine it more closely and understand what might be causing this issue. By doing so, we hope to identify any underlying problems or obstructions that are preventing the cam from turning as it should. This step is crucial in determining our next course of action and ensuring that we can eventually resolve the problem effectively. This is a perforated lock, which is a cylinder lock commonly used in various security applications. And why is that exactly unrealistic to you? That's absolutely impossible. Let's just put it that way. Why is that? Because as you can clearly and undoubtedly see, this is the cylinder right here. So let's take this item, and now I'll carefully grab the key. Just a second, please wait. So here's the key. As we can clearly observe, when the uniquely designed key is carefully inserted into the cylindrical lock, it effectively moves this specific connector in a precise manner. So we carefully insert it, and it gently moved a bit, slightly. So what's happening is that this connector essentially goes into this cam, meaning on one side, there's basically this cylinder, and on the other side, there's the same cylinder. So, if on this side, the inner side, let's say we have the key inserted here, it grabs this cam. In essence, on the one hand, the connector fits into the cam, and on the other hand, it secures the cylinder. Therefore, as a result, the key insertion is crucial for the mechanism to function properly. So when you basically turn it, as you can clearly see, it essentially grabs this cam.
So, if this here is the second part, let's say, of the connecting cam, it rotates freely due to its design, which allows for smooth and unrestricted movement. This is an important feature because it ensures that the cam can function properly without any hindrance. Now, even if we file the key, meaning we file the key so that it fits completely into the hole, it won't push this connecting cam out. The reason for this is that the cam is designed to stay in place securely, as you can see. The filing of the key is done to ensure a perfect fit, but it does not affect the position of the cam. This mechanism is crucial for the overall operation of the system, ensuring that all parts work together seamlessly. So in fact, it won't actually push this connecting cam out, which essentially means you won't be able to use this wrench here. Why? Because from the inside it's already fully pressed in. Here, right next to each other, there is a second identical cylinder, and the only thing you can move is the cam with the key. If there wasn't a key on the inside, and we inserted a regular unfiled key from this side, here, so we would push this connecting cam into the wrench itself, and only then, having the connection on this cylinder, the same connection, would it be possible to push this cam out, and only then would the cylinder turn. This cam is actually designed to move in one direction or the other, depending on which way the key is inserted. So if the key is inserted from this side, it gets pressed in, and then, with this cylinder, even if we manage to open it, we just won't be able to use this wrench to actually open the lock, so we can only open it from one side. And only then, having the same connection on this cylinder, would it be indeed actually feasible to push this cam out. And only then would the cylinder indeed turn. This cam is actually designed to move in one direction or the other, depending on which way the key is inserted. So, if the key is inserted from this side, it really gets pressed in. And then, with this cylinder, even if we manage to open it, we just won't be able to use this wrench to actually open the lock. So, as you know, we can only open it from one side. So, Ivan, if you use this method, if you indeed manage to do it, and you're solving these issues in this particular situation this way, therefore, ultimately. So I would like to understand if it's real, how did you do it? Right. The only option as I see it is that it would be a hassle, a real inconvenience. Right. Not only would you need to cut the key down, meaning shorten it, but also ensure precision in doing so. It's also necessary to use the same Dremel tool, which is a versatile rotary tool, to cut a groove along the entire key, ensuring it fits perfectly. So let's say, for example, the upper pin, which isn't used. So if we're using the lower one, then the upper one won't be used. In this step, we are going to create a groove, which is a small indentation or channel. For example, let me demonstrate this process using a toothpick. The purpose of making this groove is to allow us to insert a thin wire or perhaps even a toothpick, provided that the hole we are working with is sufficiently tight to hold it securely. By inserting this toothpick, we ensure that when the key is inserted into the lock, it aligns properly and functions as intended. The toothpick acts as a guide or placeholder, maintaining the alignment of the key. Once the key is in place, we can then attempt to insert the wire into the groove. This process requires precision and care to ensure that everything fits together correctly and operates smoothly. The wire, once inserted, will serve its purpose effectively, allowing the mechanism to work as designed, and only then. This kind of design would allow us to turn this wrench in a more comprehensive and detailed manner. But let's be honest, frankly speaking, cutting the key, using wires and all those complicated steps, and all that hassle, in the end, it's just not worth it. So for that, if possible, just please do it the way I showed. In the last video, as you can see, it's just impossible to file down a key and open the lock, especially since in the previous review I was talking about a lock of the English type with an English key. So, Ivan says that he knows for sure that it can be done on the perforated ones. And as you can see, it's impossible. So Ivan, there's a question. Perhaps, if you managed to do it, maybe you saw the wrong lock. Not that kind of lock. Although basically, all these parts are standard on almost all locks. Right, maybe you expressed yourself incorrectly, or I misunderstood you. Or do you know some other method? Maybe I did something wrong in this video. So, please leave your comment on this matter, as your thoughts and opinions are incredibly valuable to us. I would really appreciate that, and it helps us improve. So basically, I'm wrapping up this video where we discussed various important points. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to explore more of our videos. Thank you for watching. If anyone out there found this interesting or intriguing, please do give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. In the next videos, we'll be looking at how to pick other locks. A word of good.